Welcome to the Benefits of Knowledge podcast with Lorne Curry of Curry Financial Group Limited. In this podcast, we are focused on helping businesses set up and manage their group benefit plan to protect and assist their most valuable assets. Join us on this journey where Lorne explores ways to help you develop effective and cost-efficient strategies for your business. Now, on to the show.
Hello and welcome to the Benefits of Knowledge with Lorne Curry. Lorne, how are you today?
Doing just great, Eric. How are you today?
I am doing fantastic. We are coming off of a recording from last time. Audience, if you haven't listened to it, you've got to go listen to it. He had a great guest on. He had Dave on. I will let Lorne just kind of give you a teaser on that. But what a great conversation, great storytelling, some really, really good information on that last podcast that everybody should check out.
Yes, Dave Patriarch, head of the CGIB, our industry association. Dave's a great guy, puts so much back into our industry. It's unbelievable. And we introduced a new pooled program that I think is going to become very, very popular with people. Big thing with it is the transparency, which sometimes in the insurance industry we really don't see. We say, well, those claims are pooled, but we don't know what's in the pool. That transparency is going to be something I think that's going to knock that out of the park. So really enjoyed talking to Dave.
Yeah, it was a great interview. I learned a ton, and I thought it was fantastic. And today we're switching gears, which I'm really excited about because I get to put on a little bit of an acting hat because today we're covering questions that HR managers should be asking their group advisor. So if you're an HR manager, these are questions that you should be asking your group advisor. So be taking some notes on this podcast, listen up. It's going to be great information. I'm going to play the role of an HR manager, which I'm brand new at, never been one before. So Lorne, be patient with me, be gentle. But I'm going to ask the questions that Lorne fields quite often, but more importantly, Lorne should be fielding from HR managers. If you don't know to ask these questions, that's what this podcast is all about. It's a great education that Lorne puts out. So, Lorne, are you ready?
Yeah, one thing I want to throw out there, Eric. Can you believe it? This is podcast number 20.
Really?
Yes.
I didn't even realize this is number 20. This is huge. And for the audience, just to let you know, the statistics on podcasters right now, podcasters usually start their podcast, make it to number 6, and then they quit. So Lorne has done a great job. He's blown by number 6. This is number 20. So congratulations, Lorne. This is great. Yeah,
it's hard to believe. I just happened to notice that when I was looking at my notes here, and I thought, wow, this is 20 times we've done this. So
a lot of good information out there.
Well, that's what we're trying to do, right, Eric, is today you're playing the HR manager, could be a business owner, you could be, in finance or the controller of a company. Those are the people we deal with. We're trying to get these messages across to hopefully we're helping them make their job easier. I've said it time and again, I'm sure, but I can't say I run into too many people that really enjoy dealing with their group benefit programs for their company. So if we can help make their job a little bit easier by providing them some information, then this whole thing's successful.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, that's what we're here for. All right, here we go. I'm putting on the HR manager hat. So, Lorne, why are you an advisor?
Well, I think there needs to be some background here before, so people can kind of understand my answer. I didn't finish high school and say, hey, I'm going to be out and be a group benefits insurance salesman or whatever you want to call it. It come around, I don't know, through the back door, I guess I would call it. I was a small business owner for many years. And I actually ruined my shoulder. And so the doctors and that told me, you know what, you can't do what you do anymore. You can probably understand that was a real shock.
Yeah.
And so, what am I going to do? I own a business. I can't do this anymore. What am I going to do? Well, I was fortunate. My financial advisor was trying to recruit me about a month before. I asked a lot of questions, and she said, I think you could do well in this business. And I said, well, I already have a business. I'm not looking, for another business. So anyway, when you get told you can't do what you do, then you start thinking, maybe I better listen to what these other people have to say. So I went out to see a gentleman by the name of Doug Bowden, who ironically works here at Curry Financial Group now. That was over 25 years ago. But I went and listened to him to see what the insurance investment industry had to offer. I guess it's pretty obvious I decided to give it a try. And like most advisors, as we talked about actually in our last podcast, a lot of people start out as what we would call a generalist. So meaning I sold life insurance, living benefits, I did group benefits, I did investments, all that stuff. But after, my own experience of being injured, unable to do or work in my own business, I was really drawn to helping people protect themselves from that disability or worse if they were to die. Mm-hmm. So the insurance side, which surprised me, jumped out at me. And then once I started in the group benefit market, I decided this is where I could help the most people. Right, rather than trying to insure one person at a time, it makes me feel like I've helped people out when tragedy strikes, and we've been able to help them with a disability income or again, unfortunately, death benefits sometimes happen. Mm-hmm. We can't change these things, but one of the biggest stresses that people have in life, especially upon these catastrophic instances, is financial. And so I feel by doing this, I'm able to help the most people possible. And so that's just kind of background.
Okay. Well, as an HR manager, I am busy, right? I've got a ton of stuff on my plate, and group benefits is not something that I enjoy having to deal with all the time, but it's something that falls under my purview for my job. So let me ask you this. What do you do exactly, and how is that going to help me?
That's kind of funny because I have a brother-in-law that keeps saying, "What do you do? Do you work?"
Yes, that's right.
Anyway, I guess you think of it as work, but anyway, I like to think of myself both as an educator and kind of an intermediary. Okay. I try to help employers understand how the group benefits work. I try to help them design, that group plan that's good for their employees, but at the same time, we have to make sure that's affordable for the company. So this podcast is a good example. I'm trying to share 25 years or over 25 years of knowledge to business owners, HR managers, controllers to help you guys understand and maybe improve your company's group benefit plan. For our clients, in addition to helping them understand and design their plan, I also work with all the major insurance companies to provide the best plan at the fair price. That's what I do. Those are two pieces. But it's very important that I mention, probably maybe more important than what I do, is what Joan, everybody hopefully knows Joan by now from the podcast. Joan is my right hand here. She's been with me, I think it's almost 20 years. But what Joan does for our clients, she looks after all the details. She does paperwork. She looks after all the service for the clients. If a client has a question or a problem, most of the time, Joan's going to be the one that's looking after that. You can ask any of our clients. They all love Joan. And I can tell you, Curry Financial Group would not be nearly as successful as it is if it had not been for Joan looking after all of our clients' needs.
All right. Well, I know what my company has. I know how many employees my company has, but I don't know who you work for and who you do this job for. I don't know if I'll fit. So can you explain that to me?
Okay. So again, over 25 years, we've been very fortunate to serve, companies. We have single people, right? It's just somebody that's incorporated and it's a one-person show. And we have companies that have 300 employees. So if I was to really break it down and say, who could I benefit the most, I would have to say that would be companies anywhere between 20 and 500.
Got it.
Again, right now we have clients up to 300. A company of 300 to 500, there's really no differences there. But they're probably the companies that we can help the most. Got it.
All right. That makes sense. Lorne, do you sell products?
Short answer, yes.
Okay.
My belief, I think we all sell something. Right? If you really think of it, if it's somebody in a retail store, they're selling groceries or clothing. If you're an employee of any company, you're basically selling them your time, service, or expertise. A lawyer or an accountant, they've got knowledge. They're basically selling that. So if I successfully educate then negotiate a fair deal with an insurance carrier for our clients, then yes, I do make a sale.
Got it. Okay. So then how do you get paid?
Great question. We are paid by commission, and commission is a percentage of the premiums that the insurance company collects. So we disclose this percentage to our clients so they know exactly what it is. And it's always based on the size of the group and the premiums. Everything in insurance is volumes, right? So the higher the volumes, the lower the cost as far as whether it's the administration fee from the insurance company or the commissions that we receive. Needless to say, we would not have to change or charge the same percentage to a company that has 300 employees to one that has 20 employees. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And I think that's fair. And I love the fact that you're very transparent about it. You're not, you're just coming out and saying, yeah, we're paid on this and this is how it is. And I like the fact that you do obviously disclose that to your clients. But my next question is a little bit more complicated. I've heard there's a difference between somebody who's independent and somebody who's not. I don't know if they're called captive or what, but are you independent?
Absolutely. We could deal with any insurance company in Canada or what we call TPA, which is a third-party administrator. We're not tied to any insurance company. No insurance company, owns any portion of my business. They're not invested in us. We're wide open. So it's actually funny. We're just in the middle of moving one of our clients that we've only had for a year or so. They were with a previous carrier, first renewal. We negotiated. I was quite happy with the renewal, recommended to the client they stay there. We don't move people for no reason. However, the next renewal come up, and I was really displeased with what this particular insurance company was asking for in premium. So we did a marketing. I recommended to the client we move, and I've talked about it on here before. We have a couple of carriers that we do have special arrangements with where we're actually able to get lower administration fees. Right? So I explained to the client that, part of the reason the deal is going to be better is because I have this block arrangement. So when they were making their decision whether they were going to move or not, they had questions like, are you going to get extra commissions for bringing business over to that other carrier? Or is there, bonuses or whatever? I said, actually, no. So the percentage we charge is going to be the same. It doesn't matter what carrier, what third-party administrator we deal with. Our fee schedule is set as our fee schedule. It's not going to matter where we go. So I actually said to this client, I said, to be honest with you, I'm going to take a pay cut by moving you because you're going to get a better deal. So if your premiums are lower, I'm actually going to get less money. But bottom line, we're here to do the right thing for the client. And I felt in this case that this client would save money, especially long-term. Short-term, no problem, but definitely long-term was going to be a better deal. But that doesn't matter. I'm not saying I don't like to, earn my income, but if you look after the clients, I believe everything looks after itself in the end.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think every business owner's thinking long-term. They have to. I mean, if they're going to be successful in business, they've got to think long-term. So I love the fact that you're doing that as well. Let me ask you this. If I were to engage you and we were to do business together, how often would we need to meet?
Well, I like to meet with our clients twice a year. We obviously need to meet at renewal time because we're discussing what the next year's premium is going to look like. So we try and do that one about a month ahead of the renewal. But I like to try and do I call it a mid-year checkup to see how things are going. We review the claims experience. How's that running? We don't want to have any surprises at that renewal. So if claims are high, we want to know that ahead of time, just to be aware of what's happening. So also at mid-year checkups, depending on how long the client's been with us, we may, or if there's a new administrator, or there's a new HR manager or a plan administrator that works at the company, we have that administrator's checklist that we've talked about in the past. We may go over that with, say, a new person or just a review to make sure that everybody knows these are your responsibilities as the plan administrator. We may go over, again, depending on the situation, maybe it's a benchmark report. Maybe the client is saying, I don't know about my plan design. I'm having a hard time keeping people or hiring people, whatever. So we could do a benchmark, take a look at how their plan design compares to their peers in a similar area, obviously same type, say manufacturing or whatever the business is, and kind of, same size companies. So we can take a look to say, are you competitive with the benefits package you're offering? Mm-hmm. Right. So those are the types of things we like to try and do at that mid-year checkup. Now, of course, we're always available at any time that a client needs our assistance or has any questions, right? Joan's here all the time. And if I happen to be out of the office or in meetings or whatever, if Joan can't answer that question, she's going to pass that on to me and I'll be back to the client, as quickly as possible, usually the same day, possibly the following, depending on the timing.
Gotcha. All right. That makes sense. All right. So how will we communicate? I mean, there's things that crop up. Every business has questions. Every business has things that they have to deal with. How will we communicate if I'm working with you?
Well, I'm just like everybody else since this pandemic has hit. I used to meet everybody in person. The odd person that maybe is in a remote location before, we did it over the phone or some kind of virtual meeting. But since the start of the pandemic, for everybody's safety, our meetings are all done virtually over Microsoft Teams. Mm-hmm. It's very similar to a Zoom. Most people are familiar with Zoom. But anyway, so I think when this whole thing is over, many of our clients find these virtual meetings to be more convenient, actually, and efficient than in-person meetings. They're much easier to schedule. You're on, you do what you need to do, and boom, you're off. I think they're done actually a little quicker. So once things return to normal, we'll be giving our clients the option, and if they want me to come back out like I used to do, I'll be there, not a problem. If they prefer the virtual meetings, then that's certainly not a problem with me. They are easier to schedule, I'll have to say. You're familiar with the Calendly app?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so I'll give you an example on this. So it used to be, I'm in Peterborough, and let's say I've got a client in Port Perry, I've got one in Oshawa, I've got one in Scarborough, and I've got one in Cobourg, just as an example. Mm-hmm. So Joan would spend, I don't know how long, on the phone saying, okay, she got a meeting set up for, say, Port Perry at 9 o'clock in the morning. All right. So then she's trying to get a hold of that person in Oshawa to say, Lorne could be there at about 11 o'clock. Can you be available then? So then the similar thing to, what time can you be in Scarborough and what time can you be back down to Cobourg or Port Hope or wherever it is. So you try and make a loop to see as many people as I could in a day. Trying to arrange that is extremely difficult. So with the virtual meetings now, we send out to say, hey, we want to set up a meeting. Here's Lorne's calendar. It's on this Calendly app, and in there they can just book whatever time they want. So I can be talking, obviously I can be talking to somebody in Scarborough at 9 o'clock, and at 10:30 or 11 o'clock I could be talking to somebody in Kingston because there's no travel time. Mm-hmm. So that has been a big savings of time for us. But I don't want to give up the fact that if people want to meet me in person, I'm more than happy to do that. And then we have day-to-day stuff. It's generally most people, if they have a question or whatever, they'll either phone us, email us. Joan actually is texting back and forth with some people, so we find that very handy as well.
Nice.
All right. Beyond that, for communication, we've got our website that anyone can. I mentioned our last podcast that we've just done a bunch of updates on the website. So we now are able to share all our podcasts, the YouTube recordings, and we're actually adding blogs in there. So we want to make sure that we're offering information to whether they are, a prospect, we'll call them, or our clients if they want to look back at this stuff. But do they prefer to listen, watch, or just read? We're trying to make sure we're providing that communication in the manner they prefer.
Yeah, that's super helpful. And this is just kind of off the top of my head, but one thing that I've really enjoyed about virtual meetings, Lorne, and this is just maybe just me. I know there's other people out there like me, but I like the fact that I can record them, right? Because when I'm in a meeting that's an hour, maybe an hour and a half long, and we're covering a lot of information, I'm not the greatest at taking notes. But if I'm able to record it, which it's really difficult to record a meeting that you're doing in person, or it's just kind of awkward, when you're recording something in person. But when you have something like a virtual meeting that gives you the ability to record it, I can go back and just in case I need to make further notes or remember something. Can you record your meetings? Do you allow people to do that?
Certainly. You know what? That's a great point. To be honest, I haven't had anybody ask me, but we would be more than happy because quite often it's trying to get everybody together as well, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there might be, maybe it's the business owner, the HR manager, and the controller all want to be on the meeting, but not everybody's available, but we need to get the meeting done because the renewal's coming. So that would be a great way to share, that information, or, they could listen or watch the meeting whenever it's convenient. So that's a great idea. The thing I like about the virtual meetings, in-person meetings, if I walk in and I hand a client a copy of their renewal, they tend to leaf through it, right? So I generally, if the room is set up that it works, I generally don't give them that. I open mine, and over all these years, I've got pretty good at reading upside down. So I try and, especially if it's one-on-one, I can do this, right? And I will go through it page by page. With the virtual meeting, because I'm sharing my screen, right? So now the client does not have a copy of the renewal. I find I have their undivided attention because they're looking at the screen and I'm highlighting or underlining or whatever as I go through point by point in the renewal process. So they are looking exactly at what I'm talking about. And I think the communication is actually better.
Yeah.
If that makes, yeah?
Yeah, okay, absolutely. So, because for me, I mean, it's a... not to disclose too much, but it's almost an ADD issue, right? My attention goes to different places, and when somebody can walk me through documentation, especially like I said, if you can record it and you can go back to it, we're spending time going through exactly what I need to. And I'm sure this is very complicated. There's a lot of information that you're covering in a short amount of time, but it's something where if I want to go through it later, I have questions that maybe I didn't get to, I can put those in an email and I can reference, some of the documentation that you shared with me or showed me. I'm assuming that you give them a copy of it after your meeting.
Absolutely. As soon as we're done, we send off any document that we've reviewed in the meeting, we send that off because you have to have your copies, right?
Yeah. Yep.
I just want to make sure I have your attention.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, that's good because you're there to educate, and that's the best form of education that you can get is making sure that people are seeing exactly what they need to see and the important parts, and you're able, like you said, highlight and underline and draw attention to the most important pieces so they can make good educated decisions. So I think that's fantastic.
Yeah. Now, one other thing I'll just mention about the virtual meetings, because I have run into this. Okay, so I have people when we say, hey, do you want to do a virtual meeting? They say, well, I don't have a microphone, or I don't have speakers, stuff like that. So can we just do it over the phone? So what I always say, again, today, I think pretty much everybody has a computer, right? So what I do is I actually still have them hook up to this Microsoft Teams meeting so that they can see me, then I can share my screen, but I'm actually talking to them on the phone.
Yeah, absolutely.
So they don't need a mic, they don't need speakers, right? As long as they have a computer screen and they're hooked up to the internet, which again, I think pretty much everybody has that nowadays. But that way, I have a headset here, so when I'm on the phone, I'm hands free. I can go through that presentation exactly the same way by talking to them on the phone, as long as they're looking at the screen.
Yeah.
So, we're able to work around issues like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've had meetings before where there's 3 or 4 people in one room, and again, you're right, they don't have speakers hooked up or whatever it is, but most phones have speakerphone. So they're able to, the entire group is able to listen, follow along on the screen, and then also any one of the group members can, jump in and ask a question because, the speakerphone on the phone is going to also be the microphone. So that works out really, really well. Is there anything else that that you think HR managers or business owners should be asking you at this point before we wrap up this podcast?
Well, one of the things, just kind of off the top of my head, that I hadn't really thought of before right now, but how are advisors communicating to your employees, right? Now, I'll tell you, I used to go out and do what we called employee communication sessions. So, again, it depends. And not everybody takes advantage of this. I think more people should, but we offer it to everyone. So, if I'm taking over your group, or we've moved your group to another carrier, or you've made plan design, whatever it is, or you've got new employees, we need to make sure they understand what they have for the group benefit plan, right? What do you have in this package? Because most people, they don't look at the book, right? Or they don't look at the PDF for, I've got group benefits, but they don't even, I got a drug card, so I know I can get my medication. I know I can go to the dentist. But they don't know all the stuff they have. So I like to do that communication. So with COVID, actually, I think this has made a real improvement. So rather than me going out, what we've been doing recently is Joan puts together a PowerPoint presentation, which is what I would have presented in person, right? But I can actually do like a voiceover on each individual slide. Right?
Yeah.
So it's not a video. I find videos a little tough because sometimes I get tongue-tied, I guess that was the word, right? Or mess up, and then I feel I have to do the whole thing again. With this PowerPoint presentation, you do one slide at a time. So she has the slides made. I do the voiceover on it. We save it, and we send that out to our client. Any of our clients that are listening that we have not done this for yet, just let me know. We're more than happy to do it. But now, you as that HR manager, if you're hiring new employees, right, instead of you trying to explain the group benefits,
wow, that's fantastic.
You've got a PowerPoint presentation. They're in there. They're filling out all their paperwork to become new employees, or this could be done at the end of their waiting period, right? Because most plans have a 3-month wait before you get on to the group benefit plan after you're hired. So just before that time period, you can say, here, watch this PowerPoint presentation, and this is going to give you a good overall outline of what your benefit plan covers. And I always try and throw in some tips there for the employees to get the most out of the plan.
That's awesome.
Right? Yeah. So education, communication, but this to me is really a game changer, and it's one of the things we're going to be working towards, getting more and more of these out to our clients, so that they have them at their fingertips whenever they want to review, or if they're hiring new people.
And these are tailor-made for each of your clients.
Absolutely, yes.
fantastic.
Joan would prepare the slides, and then, like I said, I go over them. But yeah, it's customized to whatever the plan design is and whatever carrier. The other thing is, how do I make a claim? Right. So in some of them, so we have on your smartphone, pretty much all the carriers nowadays have an app. And so, we actually show you, here's a picture of the app. This is or online or whatever it is. And here's what you're looking at. Here's where you put the information to get signed up. And here's what you can see in there. So,
right.
Yeah, it's technology is sometimes I get frustrated with it because I'm always trying to learn something new. And I guess at my age, I don't like learning too much anymore on this stuff. But I tell you, once I get the time in and we learn to do these things, and the things I just talk about are not rocket science. That's probably why I can do them. But I really do believe it makes not only our job easier, but again, I think this stuff is making things more efficient, easier for our clients, to make sure they're taking advantage of everything.
All right. Well, you offer a lot. So for those listeners that want to engage you and talk to you about it, why don't you give them the best way to contact you so they can get this process started? Okay.
Well, just pick the phone up, I guess is the first way. 1-866-445-4424. That's a toll-free number here in Ontario. You can go to our website, curryfinancialgroup.com, or just pop us an email. Emails are right there on the site. It's just Lorne@curryfinancialgroup.com or Joan@curryfinancialgroup.com. Either one of us will be able to answer most of your questions. And if one can't, we'll get the other one to do it.
There you go. All right. Lorne, thank you so much for your time today. Another fantastic podcast.
All right. Thank you very much, Eric. Have a great day.
You too. And our last thank you, of course, always goes to you, the listening audience. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening to the Benefits of Knowledge podcast with Lorne Curry. If you have not subscribed to the podcast yet, please click the subscribe now button below. This way, when Lorne comes out with a new podcast, it'll show up directly on your listening device. This makes it really easy to share these podcasts with your colleagues. Again, thank you so much for listening today. For everyone at Curry Financial Group, this is Eric Johnson reminding you to live your best day every day. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to the Benefits of Knowledge podcast. Click the subscribe button below to be notified when new episodes become available.